I'm Simon Ditchburn. I'm the Managing Director of the Tudor Group of Companies, and in a very humid 40 degrees, you're watching the construction of the cube. In our last episode, I was standing exactly in this position where I am now, and we were craning the last of the walls in position. You can see we've moved on quite a lot now. The scaffolding has gone back in to make all of the moulding for the next floor above. But this time it's a lot more complicated. We can't do the scaffold in simple, easy, straight runs. We've now got to work around the rooms. In fact, I've had to buy 50% more scaffolding and more steel, where we've used a lot more of this scaffolding to work around the rooms. But it gives me a good opportunity to show you that these walls that were craned in position don't support any of the floors. It's the columns that support the floors and not the walls. We've had a few comments on our last video from the YouTube videos where people still have this wrong idea about supporting walls. It's just like a car park. Let me take you downstairs and demonstrate exactly how that works. I'm sure at some point in time you've all been in a multi-storey car park, yeah? A multi-storey car park doesn't have any walls in it whatsoever. The same situation we have here in the condominium. This is basically our car park. And the columns touching the ceiling, the columns only are doing the supporting of that ceiling. So let's compare that with upstairs where we've got the walls in position, and then I can explain that the walls do not support any of these floors. Let's climb up the scaffold here to get a little bit closer to demonstrate for you. But the difference between the column downstairs and the top of the wall is clearly that column was actually touching the slab. That's the point of support. But to compare that against one of our walls with the moulding, it's very clearly going over the top of the wall here. There is nothing in between the top of the wall and the mould. The concrete will be above this plywood, which gets released later on. So there's a good 10 centimetres here. There's no point of contact between the wall and the slab. Therefore, the wall cannot be supporting the slab. Now, we'll come later and put what we call a fire break into this, which is basically made up of foam, which stops the fire from being able to go from this apartment to the next apartment. But all of that steel, all of that reinforcing steel that we were showing you in the factory at the last two episodes, that steel creates the strength of the wall itself, so that the wall itself can support itself. Not that the steel is required to make the wall strong enough to support the ceiling. In fact, I could have built all of these walls out of plasterboard. Here's an item we haven't touched on yet so far, the staircases. Now the staircases, the choice here is to make them from concrete. We'll pour them at exactly the same time that we pour the floors, and everything is made of a moulding exactly the same way that we do the floors. Scaffold supporting the plywood, reinforcing steel is set within the concrete, and then we pour to make that final shape. But there is a choice and a reason why we've gone with the concrete staircases, and that's basically for fire reasons. If this staircase was made in steel on the inside of the building, if there was a fire, a high temperature, because that staircase is enclosed, could mean the steel would melt, fail in the case of a fire. So the choice is to go with concrete on the inside, less likely to fail at those high temperatures of an actual fire, should it happen, and of course we all hope it doesn't. So the ruling really is concrete on the inside of a building and steel on the outside of a building. Now we're just about to pour that floor above, so let's take the camera upstairs and you can watch it all going ahead. 1,200 square meters of concrete and another floor done. Good job, fantastic. Let's go upstairs. I'm standing on the balcony here of the Tudor Court penthouse, believe it or not, and it gives me a fantastic vantage point to actually overlook the construction of the cube. And I think this is the part everybody wanted to see. This is the pouring of the concrete of the next floor. Well, that's another floor completed, another 1,200 square meters of concrete poured in just a day, another floor done, and already after just 2 days we're starting to put the columns in which will be supporting the fourth. Why is the fourth so special for me? Because that's the halfway point to the roof. So it's onwards and upwards, and we'll see you next time.